Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring What Lies Beneath the Darkness. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this solo and semi-competitive role-playing game, where you play as horrors hired by factions to wage a war in a victorianesque city, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the loop, missions, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this role-playing game. Concerning the loop, playing What Lies Beneath the Darkness is just a matter of repeating the steps in a loop. You can simply follow the procedure in order and move the story forward by yourselves. So let's talk about these steps. First, you roll on the matrix. Choose a player to start. Their character will be on the spotlight for this turn. They roll 2 6-sided dice on the matrix to get one prompt. That's the seed of the scene. They read it aloud and invite the group to discuss what they think it means, painting the scene with a broad brush. Remember that this is a solo together sort of role-playing game, so this could be the Game Master emulator section. You are going to constantly drift between the Game Master emulation process and actual roleplay. By default, the active player's character is the only protagonist in the scene, but they may invite other characters to be there with them if they all agree it makes sense. Step 2 is establish a challenge. Define what you want here and what is standing in your way. If you feel stuck, you can pick a challenge type or roll 2 6-sided dice on a table. You may combine the type results. Maybe you obtain fight, threat, or task, mystery, perhaps debate, contest. Step 3 is frame the scene. Now it's time to bring this scene to life. You can describe it alone or invite the other players to pick elements or roll 2 6-sided dice and consult a table, obtaining results such as smells and sounds, camera angles, weather and nature, impression or opinion, mood and atmosphere, actions and movement. Step 4 is performing your actions. You describe how your character tries to overcome the challenge. Look at your traits and at the agenda for inspiration on what you could do. The other players may roleplay supporting characters and suggest descriptions, reactions, and complications. As you can see, the other players at the table work as game masters when it is your scene. It is your moment to shine. You are the player character in that particular moment. If you feel like rolling the dice, do it. Use the action rules to determine the outcome. Remember, it is a player decision first, a group decision second, and an oracle decision last, whether an action requires an action roll or not. Step 5 is checking the oracle. Every time you need to ask a question regarding the world, the situation, your powers, or anything else, you may follow the procedures to check the oracle and get a yes or no answer. You might invite other players to check the oracle for you, or to help interpret the result. If you feel the scene is over and the challenge is overcome, or no longer relevant, you can decide so and move on. If you are not sure if it's resolved yet, you should ask the oracle. When a scene is done, cross that prompt out from the matrix. Step 6 is start over. The loop repeats itself with another character on the spotlight. If the previous scene offered a clear path on what they want to do next, the next player can even skip the roll on the matrix, or perhaps just use it for additional flavor. If not, they can go back to step 1 and roll for a new prompt, or pick one that catches your eye. Repeat this loop until all players had a chance to be on the spotlight, and then start over. When you feel it's time to finish your story, you may frame the last scene for your character. It may be the final confrontation to reach the mission's goal, your journey back home, your first step towards a new mission, or something else completely, and that no one expected when you first started to play. Whatever it is, it should come from a feeling that you are already satisfied with what the story has provided. The other players may continue on with their missions, and you can collect your rewards and start a new one. Now let's take a look at more details concerning the missions. If you want to keep playing after your first mission, here is how you can do it. First, create a new mission, of course. The first thing you need is a new mission. Perhaps the last one ended with a cliffhanger, a hook, or a clear direction on what you need to do next. If not, you can use the mission generator table to come up with a new one. Refine it by bringing back some mysteries and discoveries from the previous mission to add some more flavor to it. Step 2 is creating the matrix. You have to come up with 36 prompts to inform the moments you want to experience during play. You can even recycle some of the unused prompts from the previous mission if you want to. In practical terms, these prompts can be items, people, events, foes, environments, discoveries, places, sensations, and creatures. Create names for new people, new artifacts, new places, and creatures. Bring back the supporting characters that appeared on the previous missions and that you want to further explore. Make references to some of the characters' traits. Rewrite some of the previous prompts by changing one or two elements from it. Come up with prompts that make you say, "I can't wait to find out what this is about." You should create prompts that are evocative enough so you are invested in experiencing it, but that are not too prescriptive as to not leave room for you to interpret and expand upon. A good prompt sits in that sweet spot between vague and precise. And since they are randomly selected, you shouldn't expect them to come up in any specific order. You don't need to know what any of those prompts mean. They should be compelling and flavorful, but they will come to life during the mission. Step 3 is refining the agenda. The agenda is a series of smaller achievements you expect to chase during your adventure. Achieving them will grant rewards, namely new or upgraded traits and the opportunity to avoid making corruptions. The two sets of agendas that come with the game are broad enough that they can be used numerous times throughout multiple missions. However, now that you know more about your character, your faction, and the city, you might want to revisit them to insert aspects of the story that you are invested in. Think of the agenda as a tool to reward specific behaviors. What kinds of things are you interested in getting involved during this next mission? The agenda is formed by a list of imperative statements called goals. 6 of them should suffice. Make sure you revisit the themes of the game to check if the agenda is aligned with them. After that, your new mission is ready to be played. And this concludes this part of the review. What do I think of What Lies Beneath the Darkness? I think this is an amazing solo and semi-competitive role-playing game. It is certainly quite interesting how you can use the results from the different tables, from the prompts, the matrix, etc., to come up with any developments, unexpected occurrences during the missions. Everything stitches together quite nicely thanks to the loop process. Now, the tricky thing is going to be maintaining roleplay as you intersperse those Game Master emulator moments. If you start to ignore roleplay, it's going to turn into a huge conversation, but this is not a conversation, this is a tabletop role-playing game. So you need to find that rhythm, that pace, that smooth transition from moments of mechanical Game Master emulation and actually role-playing your character. So for example, maybe you are figuring out how the mission is going to proceed according to these non-player characters or the results of the matrix, and then you go into character. You start to say, I approach the shady looking building. I look through the window to make sure that nobody is at home, and then I use my powers to become mist and slide under the door. Or maybe you are playing as a fake character, and then you say something like, I communicate with one of the fairies that lies dormant within the building and ask it to open the door for me. So it's all about that. Handling those Game Master emulator moments with the other players, and when it's your turn to roleplay, you go into character. But if you are playing solo, it's even easier for you, because you don't have to agree with the other players when it comes to the Game Master emulator phase of the game. So my highest recommendation for What Lies Beneath the Darkness: I think this game is going to be particularly useful for those role-playing groups that want to experience what it is to be a game master. This game can teach you about the basics of such a task. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.